in their on-site lab, nutritional supplements, and a knowledgeable staff. Hopkinton Drug, believing food, exercise, and community, along with an integrative approach to medicine, can help you achieve your wellness goals.
This is HCAM TV.
Okay. Hey, good evening. My name is Amy Ritterbusch, and I'm calling the Select Board meeting for February 14th, 2023 to order. This meeting of the Hopkinton Select Board is being held both in person and remotely using the video conference platform Zoom. Select Board member Irfan Nasrallah will be participating remotely, and all the members of the Select Board will be present in Town Hall, room 215-216. At this time, I will ensure that the Select Board members participating remotely can hear and be heard. Irfan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, we can hear you. The public has the option of attending in person here at Town Hall or via Zoom using the link posted in the meeting's agenda. This meeting is being recorded. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Our first item on the agenda is to move into executive session. So I would entertain a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Purpose 3, to consider strategy with respect to collective bargaining relative to police, fire, and communications union, because an opening meeting may have detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the board. The second reason, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, 21A, Purpose 2, to consider strategy with respect to negotiations with non-union personnel, the police chief and town manager. And thirdly, to allow Kamala and Elise Lazarus to participate in the executive session. And fourthly, to reconvene an open session at the conclusion of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call vote.
Earl Kramer, yes.
Scheidemann, yes. Irfan Nasrallah, yes.
Amy Ritterbusch, yes. Okay, we'll be back shortly. Okay. Okay, good evening. My name is Amy Ritterbush, and this is the Select Board meeting for February 14th, 2023. We have just returned from executive session. And our first item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance. So please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm just going to say that sounded amazing tonight.
Okay. All right, and our next item is public forum. Please note that each person will have up to 2 minutes to speak at public forum. Please start by stating your name and address. And we'll do people in the room first, and then people who are on Zoom. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak at public forum? Please come forward. Okay, so you let Tim go first? Go ahead.
Oh, there we go.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Tim.
You're
Not used to being on this
There you
side.
go. A little different, isn't it, huh?
Yeah.
Do you feel threatened?
No.
No? Tim Kilduff, I'm here representing a number of organizations that have interest in the marathon. And my friend joining me is?
Mary Jo Frenier, 18 Walcott Valley Drive.
So, as I'm sure you all know, in 1924, the start of the Boston Marathon was moved from Ashland, the original start, to Hopkinton. So next year is a very significant year for us. But it also is a significant year for our friends in Ashland. So this year marks 100 years since the race last started in Ashland. And there are some of us that think that they deserve a little pat on the back. And so we started some discussions with a number of organizations in town, which I'll have Mary Jo talk about, including the Hopkinton Center for the Arts, the Hopkinton Marathon Committee, and hopefully the political leadership in the community.
Select Board and the 26.2 Foundation. We would like to have an acknowledgement of Ashland, and we've talked with the arts, and they would love to be a sponsor of it. And we'd love to have an event at the Arts Council inviting the Select Board and the various Ashland organizations who have helped with the marathon over the years or have had something to do with it. And they have a nice little marathon park there in Ashland, and we have some old photos and maybe some newspaper articles of the Boston Globe, the Old Star. And I really think that in this day and age, when so many things are happening, that this would be a very nice reach-out invitation. It would have to come from this Board of Selectmen to the Ashland Board of Selectmen and see how Ashland accepts it. But I just feel that it can be done, and early in April, and that we can have a lot of participation by a lot of different groups. The BAA, the Marathon Committee, the Town of Hopkinton, maybe Chair of our Select Board, some of our political representatives, perhaps Senate President Spilka, maybe James Arena DeRosa, and we can invite Congressman McGovern. We have to make an invitation list. This would be an invitation event that we would all get to get a sponsor, and we have to get a number of people from Ashland that the Ashland Select Board represents, or once invited. And
So since this is not on our agenda, we can't make a decision on this or anything, but
no,
we can put it on the next agenda.
It's just in the works, and we're just announcing that we're going to try to make something, accomplish something along this line.
Just a pleasant smile and a little nod will give us the encouragement that we need to move forward.
Okay.
Does this work?
That works.
How awesome will this be? How awesome will this be? Thank you for bringing this idea forward,
Yeah, so we'll
honestly.
have-
You're welcome, you're welcome. I
Put it on
think
another
it's the appropriate thing to do.
Will there be wine? I'm sorry, asking for a friend.
If we have it at Topping the Center of the Arts, there will be. And we don't, and by the way, we don't see this is not at the expense of Hopkinton. There are organizations like the 26.2 Foundation which will underwrite this.
Oh, thank you for.
So, thank you for the nod, thank you for the pleasant smile and nod.
Okay, so we'll hear more about it at the next select meeting. Okay, if there's anyone else in the meeting room that would like to speak, they could come forward now. And if there's anyone on Zoom, they should raise their hands and we'll call on them in order. Yep, go ahead.
Good evening to all of you. Kim Clark, 24 Mayhew Street. I wanted to just mention first, the biggest thing I got out of last week's meeting was when Joseph Green mentioned that towns and cities will not be forced to join a rec. With that being said, I just want to say I'm 65 years old. I was born and raised in this town. I raised my kids. We all went to school here. We love this town. And we love it because of the community spirit in this town. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble tonight. I really hope you will vote no. I don't want to go through this anymore. Let's end this now. Your emails have been overwhelmingly opposed. And I really want to keep the sense of community here with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think Kim had emailed us a question earlier today that we got the answer late in the day.
Correct.
Was that shared with her, or we can do it at the time it comes up on the agenda?
When we get to the item, the
Okay.
agenda item.
Okay. Would anyone else like to speak at forum? Yep.
Yes, Rhonda Benjorani, 192 Spring Street, Hopkinton. I just want to sort of reinforce what Kim was saying. The biggest thing that I took away from the last meeting was Joseph Crean saying that we're not being forced into taking this regionalization, that they're not forcing any town to do this. There's no hurry. So I'm still confused as to why we're trying to push this. He also said that, we don't have to worry, we would still get their continued support. And I think the other thing that concerned me was that they're not collecting any data about how all these other regionalizations are doing and, what kind of responses they're having. There didn't seem to be any information that they're collecting. And it seems to me we have a terrific set of dispatchers, a terrific system, and I don't see why we're putting these people through this kind of an ordeal, especially leaving the dispatchers with the hanging by a thread, wondering whether they're going to have a job or not. I mean, they seem to be really great people. We have a great system, and I just oppose totally going to a regional system. We have a great system. We have a wonderful town. The sense of community, the type of relationship that they have with the police and the fire and the citizens, I think that I'm encouraging you and please praying that you will say no to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak tonight? Yep, go ahead.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Shannon Casey, one of the dispatchers. And I just want to say, it's been a long process already, and last week we learned that there's been some writing in the IMA that could potentially push the decision off till June, and we could have a town vote in May. Apparently we'll get the answer about the binding part later. However, we know how the town's going to vote. You know what I mean? We know how the residents feel. You guys have heard it already. And by signing now to potentially withdraw later, dependent upon a town vote, you're just stringing us along, the dispatchers. For another 4 months, you're stringing the other towns along, and all the residents that are wondering what's gonna happen, you know, to the safety of themselves, their family. It was also mentioned in the IMA last week that the rec would only handle 911 calls, not the business line, and that the fire department and police department will be responsible for that. I don't know if they're aware of that, and if they're not gonna be the ones to do it, then, you know, are you hiring like a receptionist to answer those calls in the window, and then what's the point of moving us out if you're just gonna stick somebody else there? But again, you know, we appreciate everything you guys have done, allowing us to speak and ask questions, and, you know, we're obviously eager, nervous, excited to hear what the vote's gonna be.
Relieved.
Right, yeah. But thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak?
This community candy?
It is from your very own chair of the select board.
Thank you.
Keeping us encouraged tonight.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board, Pat O'Brien, 13 Ray Street. I was a full-time member of the Hopkinton Police Department for 32 years. I'm still a member doing traffic details. So to save you on your mathematics, I've been a member of the Hopkinton Police for almost 2/3 of my life. So I care very deeply about the organization and the people of Hopkinton. Normally, I don't like change, but I do understand change is inevitable. I have had the opportunity to speak with the town manager, the police, the fire chief, and the communications director in this past week. I believe I understand their thought process in all of this. The one question that I asked all of them is, how will this make the Hopkinton Police better? And honestly, I still haven't got a good answer on how this will make it better. I'm told things are going to be coming on as far as how this is going to develop, but I still don't know how this is going to make it better. And to me, that is the biggest part of this whole wreck situation. Is we got a great dispatch unit. Chief Bennett's done a great job in fostering them to be the great community dispatch center that they are. And if we go into the wreck, I think we're taking a chance of trying to duplicate that someplace outside of Hopkinton. I know you're probably going to hear some things tonight, and I'm always waiting and willing to hear new things on how this is going to go. And maybe I'm going to hear something tonight that's going to change my mind. But as of right now, I have not heard anything from anybody. The gentleman last week from the rec center to all the information that's come out, that the Hopkinton Police will be better off for the residents of Hopkinton. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Okay.
Good evening. I'm Laura Jackson, 218 Wood Street. And basically, I just want to say that everything that's been said so far about this regionalization thing, I totally am on their side of that. And I can give you an example of how great it's been for this town to have it the way it is. And back in 1994, I fell in a driveway on black ice and got a dislocation fracture of my right ankle. And if they didn't respond as quickly as they did, I might not have a foot right now because my foot dislocated. I had no pulse in my foot. They got me actually Pat O'Brien was one of the people that got me to the hospital in time. So That's just all I have to say. That's why I think it's so important to keep it the way it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the room that would like to speak?
Good evening. Don Collins, 45 Priest Road. Over the last few months, there's been a public hearing and numerous selectmen's meetings to discuss the pros and cons of a rec and whether or not it would be a good fit for the citizens of Hopkinton. Many residents, as well as members of the Board of Selectmen, have done their research and asked many pertinent questions and received no real answers at all. The opposition has been overwhelming, to say the least. To suggest that the town sign on to the IMA blindly without these pertinent questions being answered, proceeding forward to possibly get these answers later, or not, and then pull out before June 30th is a direct insult to each and every citizen who has expressed their opinion on this matter. The proponents of the rec have had ample opportunity to express a convincing case and failed miserably. I'm not a real dramatic type of person, however, I will be deeply dismayed if this is not put out of its misery tonight. To further attempt to prolong or delay the will of the citizens is a direct affront to how this system is supposed to function. You have heard from many who have chosen public safety as their careers. They don't work via Zoom, but report to work every day and night, 24/7, and never ask for anything in return. They didn't work remotely during COVID, but reported for every shift, answered every call. None of this can happen without the dispatchers, who are often the unappreciated part of the public safety team, who answer the 911 calls, trying to calm hysterical parents or listen for a whisper as a sick patient may be taking their last breath, and then dispatch cruisers, fire trucks, and ambulances appropriately 24/7 to keep the citizens of Hopkinton safe. These dedicated professionals are not asking for the world, just a chance to pursue their chosen profession, provide for their families. Let's put any further discussion of the rec down on February 14th, 2023, and not wait till June 30th, 2023. Let the town move on to more pressing business. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone else in the meeting room that would like to speak tonight? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom? I don't see any hands raised. Ben does not either. Okay, so then I think we're done with public comment. Okay, and then next we have the consent agenda. The select board will consider the following consent agenda: approving the minutes for January 31st, 2023, accepting a gift to the ambulance fund of $25 from the Lynches, $50 from the Butchers, and $200 from Deborah Peasley, Julia Harris's daughter, in memory of Julia Harris. Accept the resignation of Ashley Fogg from the Youth Commission. Approve a parade permit application for the Sharon Timlin race on June 17th, 2023, and approve a parade permit application for the Hopkinton Little League Parade on April 23rd, 2023. So do board members want to pull out
the parade permits, please?
Okay, so pull out items D and E. All right, so would someone want to make a motion for the first three items?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes, the ambulance gifts, and the resignation of Ashley Fogg from the Youth Commission.
Okay, and much thanks to Julia Harris's friends for all their donations. I think we had some last time as well.
Yeah.
It's very kind.
She was a wonderful person here at Town Hall.
I also thanks for the gifts and also to Ashley for her service, and I second it.
Okay, we have to do a roll call vote because Irfan is remote.
Muriel Kramer, yes.
Mary Jo Lefreniere, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Yes.
Amy Rodebush, yes. Okay, so approve the three. So shall we start with the Sharon Timlin race parade permit? Okay, so this is for the 20th annual Sharon Timlin Memorial 5K. And then we had town staff comments.
So, Madam Chair, if I could, I am enthusiastically in support of both of these parade permits, but I just wanted to take a minute to make the point that that we had a parade permit at our last meeting that was not handled as straightforwardly as these two were suggested. And I want to encourage people to consider that all of these parades have the same community value to the town. And in fact, there was some confusion, I think, on the part of listeners. And I just wanted to be very clear to people that in fact, every organization, every person has a right at any time to come before this board. The reason we have these parade permits is because actually it's a constitutionally protected right to come to assemble. So I just want to say that, first of all, I thank the organizers of the Sharon Timlin race. They have done amazing work, raised amazing funds to battle a very scary disease. And each year we do it, it's done very safely in a very organized fashion. I have no doubt that it will be done the same way this year. And somehow, miraculously, the Little League Parade is also somehow contained and managed as well, because there's literally thousands of little hats running around the town with excited parents and baby carriages and probably 3 times as many siblings and grandparents and pets often. And I want to encourage everybody to keep these things coming. And I know that for some reason the senior parade was controversial last year, but I wanted to take this opportunity to make sure people know that they are expressly entitled to bring their request forward in the out years. If they want one next year, if they don't want one next year, they can decide, and they can come before whatever board is here, and they're entitled to ask for a parade permit, and provided they work with public safety, they're probably entitled to get that permit. So anyway, I celebrate these opportunities to come together, but I wanted to take a minute to make sure I called that out.
Did anyone else have questions or comments? Oh, yep.
Through the chair. So I was a solo vote last week, and I just want to say that the distinction was the concerns with public safety. I definitely agree with Ms. Kramer that, this is a right to assemble and right to free speech, and I'm completely on board with everyone trying, who wants to come before this board and apply for a permit. And generally speaking, as long as there's no public safety issues, I'm completely on board. That's the only reason why I was a no vote. And on that note, there was one comment from, I think, Dave regarding the Little League race, which was that basically we're not sure whether Main Street construction is going to be going on or what's going to be going on at that time of year. And he just recommended that there be some kind of coordination in the event that Main Street Corridor project is in full swing and if the contractors are mobilized. So I'm in favor of the parade, the Little League parade, and how could I say no little kids marching for baseball? The only caveat is, please, the organizers stay in touch with Dave and public safety officials as to what's going on at that time of year.
Okay.
And possibly adjusting the road.
Okay. Do any other board members have questions or comments? Yep.
Through the chair. Yeah, I am sorry I said that this would have to be the last parade. I didn't, I was thinking that, but I didn't actually mean that you couldn't come forward in future years. My thoughts on the parade, having been to all 4 of them in front of the town hall, was that it's not, I didn't think it was a really safe thing to do, because I saw cars, I saw parents yelling at people outside, waving, not really paying attention to their driving. I saw kids standing up in the back of trucks, in the back of Jeeps, and sitting on the back of convertible cars, flags flying in front of. I just didn't feel that the automobiles were safe. And that was my reason for, and we can keep something like this for future benefits, for future problems, as a special thing. A parade like this is just a special occasion. And if parents do a better job of patrolling these, but, I mean, I saw kids just, they were ready to fall out, and it was scaring me from time to time. Not everybody's car, some were perfectly fine, but there were enough that were just out of line, and enough parents who were more concerned than the people that were watching them and looking at them and waving and all of that. And nothing wrong with that necessarily, but if you're driving, it made me nervous. And so that was my fine when I said they could have it this year, but I was a little upset about it because, it was special for COVID. It was special for these kids. They didn't have graduations, they didn't have proms, they didn't have their activities. Now, all the activities are back. So if they want to continue with this activity, they are going to for this year, and that's fine, and they can come back before us next year. But I really hope that the people in these vehicles and that decorate these vehicles do so with safety in mind. And that was my whole premise for wanting it to be the last one. I was frightened at a couple of them.
Shelley, Jill, did you have any questions or comments?
Just echoing, I think, what my colleague said, and wholeheartedly with what Muriel said. I supported it last week as well, and I support the parades, the Timlin and Little League. I think any parades like this is a way to celebrate for us as a community and bring us together, so I'm all for it, and I think these are wonderful events. I'm really proud that we have so many events in a year, and that brings us together and brings joy to our community. And I wish and all the best, and I hope you all come back next year and we can continue the traditions and build new traditions, and feel free to bring in even new requests on top of what we have. And obviously we always want to be cognizant of the safety. Public safety is prime. I also believe that our fire department, our police department, town administration, the community all together is in a very unique spot, and I'm proud of that unique spot, that we have the expertise and we have the collaboration to really make these events successful. So I wish nothing but the best and growing such events in the future as well. And I certainly approve and support this.
Okay, so let's do these. Let's do them one at a time because they had different comments on the permanent comments. So
I'll make a motion to approve the Sharon Timlin parade. Permit.
Second.
Okay, and then we would need a roll call vote.
Muriel Kramer, yes.
Mary Jo Lefreniere, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Rafael Nasrullah, yes.
Amy Ritterbusch, yes. Okay, and then the Little League Parade did have, as Irfan noted, one adverse comment about, because the Sharon Timlin is not near the Main Street project, but the other one is.
Oh. I'll make a motion that we accept the permit for the Little League Parade. We've had it in the past, we've managed to control it, even with the downtown project going on, and I don't see why we can't do that again.
Should we condition it on Dave's comment that they need to mobilize a little earlier this year because of we don't know quite what the construction is going to be like on that date?
What said, should the contractor mobilize earlier due to mild weather?
Oh, should the contractor?
Right, so I think it makes good sense that the parade organizers, and I'm sure that they would agree and want to do this, coordinate with the town to make sure that that all is well on parade day.
Okay, so the condition that they will work with the town due to the construction, depending on, okay. If it affects it.
With the town officials who are under construction schedule.
And it's on a Sunday anyway, so there's no work going on that day.
No work going on, but we don't know whether it will be torn up at that point or not.
Right, we don't know what the roads are going to look like.
Right.
Okay, so motion by Mary Jo?
Second.
Okay, and then a roll call vote?
Muriel Kramer, yes.
Mary Jo Lefreniere, yes.
Shahid Manan, yes.
Rafael Nasrullah, yes.
Amy Ritterbusch, yes. Okay, so we are done with the consent agenda, and we will move on to the Regional Emergency Communications Center. Okay, so the Select Board will consider Hopkinton's participation in the Regional Emergency Communications Center and review a draft intermunicipal agreement between Southborough, Grafton, Westborough, and Hopkinton, and tonight we will take a formal position on the IMA. So to begin, Norma, did you want to update the board on any new information that we've received since last week?
Yes, I believe that will be helpful for the community as well as meeting attendees. 2 layers of changes that I would like to go through. Let me preface my remarks by saying all the different versions of the IMA have been listed in the website that we have dedicated for this project. Since the last version that was distributed on Friday publicly, there have been, as I said, 2 layers of changes. Let me start with the most recent changes that came in this afternoon. We circulated the draft IMA to State 911 through our Westboro counterparts. The feedback that we received was in relation to the deadlines, the deadline for the towns to come out of the IMA. We had proposed June 30th. State 911 came back and suggested that we go instead with June 1st. Here's why. June 30th is the end of the fiscal year. If the 4 towns decide not to move forward with the IMA, the state will not have the ability to redistribute the grants fund earmarked for this district. And therefore, going with June 1st allows the state the time to redistribute the funds if this district does not move forward.
Okay.
That's the first change.
I have questions on the June 1st date. I understand that makes sense, that they need to, if we didn't, if the 3 towns or 4 towns don't go forward, they would need to redistribute funds under other applicants. Okay, what else was there?
Okay, and so that change is reflected in the implementation paragraph, which is page 3, item 4A. And since we're talking about Westboro, let me also share that we did consult with our counterparts in Westboro with regard to the questions that had been asked regarding the Superfund site. We did receive very detailed email communications that occurred between Westboro and DEP, and clearly the indications are that this site is suitable for the proposed use.
And they continue to monitor it,
yes,
too, as with all former Superfund sites.
Absolutely. No. Similar to any Superfund site, there will be regular monitoring required.
And I'm just going to add one more thing, too, because in case people have that question, too, it has town water accessible to it. They would not be digging a well on the Superfund site, just to be clear.
Yes, we were very interested in finding out if this site would be connected to town water. We were assured, yes, it will be connected to town water. They will not be digging a well on the site to support the facility. The second change in the first layer of changes has to do with the paragraph or the provision identifying that the participating towns will have to sign a lease with the town of Westboro. That provision had not indicated that this process will require the towns to negotiate that lease with Westboro. And so a phrase has been added to document that the participating towns will have to negotiate a lease with Westboro. That's the first layer of changes, happened this afternoon, not included in the package that went out on Friday. So that's the only difference between the document that you saw on Friday and what is in front of the board tonight. Then let me swing back to the changes that were made leading to the document that was circulated on Friday. First and foremost, we did focus on making sure that the draft IMA is gender neutral. So we went through the document, making sure that the terms that we used were appropriate for the times that we live in. And then secondly, we also identified many instances where we were inconsistent in referencing the different aspects of the IMA. For example, the instances where we called the district the Metro West District. In some instances, we called it the Regional Emergency Communication Center. So we went through the document to make sure that the terms that were used consistently. And then thirdly, we also focused on grammatic changes. Purely housekeeping, making sure that everything reads fluidly. Substantively, these are the changes that we made. Under governance, in the operations committee structure, the towns that are participating are represented by the fire chief and the police chief. It therefore means if Hopkinton continues to participate, Hopkinton will have 2 individuals voting on behalf of Hopkinton in that committee. The language that we had used was unclear in instances where, for example, fire chief shows up, police chief doesn't show up. Does the fire chief therefore have 2 votes or 1 vote? We clarified that they will have 1 vote.
But either of them could send a designee if they were on vacation or something.
Correctly.
Yeah.
Any questions on that piece? Okay. Since we're talking about this on governance, there's a comment that was made earlier with regard to whether the rec center, if it moves forward, if it will be taking business calls. I refer you to paragraph 6, rec duties and responsibilities. Clearly identifies that the center will receive non-emergency fire police department traffic on a regular business line. And then there was also a comment on, I think this is a comment that has been shared previously relative to whether recs have standardized operational procedures. Yes, they do. The ones that we have contacted have confirmed that they do. However, as we have said, it is very difficult to compare one rec center from another because the procedures that are set up are different based on the needs of the communities that are participating. To that end, the revision that was also made in paragraph 7 under governance, under item H, captures the need to standardize the procedures. We basically added the word in H as follows: the operations committee shall have responsibility for the effective and orderly operation of the district, including without limitation standardized operational protocols. So we added the word standardized. Also, under governance, there's a clear structure that was set up for the executive board, where there's a chair, vice chair, and so forth. That had not translated to the operations committee and the finance committee. We have outlined a similar structure for those committees. Also, we have covered this topic before regarding procurement. We did indicate previously that in the interim, before the district is formalized, the town of Westboro will be the procurement agent for the district. We had not included that language in the contract. Now we have, in the draft IMA, sorry. And then...
That's only during the transition period.
Yes, only strictly, yes, before the district is formalized. And then under the termination or withdrawal clause. Originally, we had identified that a participating community may, by majority vote of its select board, elect to withdraw and terminate its membership in the district by providing written notice to the board of directors and each participating community not less than 9 months prior to the end of the then current fiscal year. We've brought that down from 9 to 6 months. And we've also included a phrase, and again, this was influenced by some of the conversations we had, that there could be a hefty penalty for withdrawing. We have included the phrase under the termination clause, the phrase that in the event that a town is withdrawing from the district, it shall pay to the district an amount not to exceed that town's annual assessment. In other words, if the assessment for Hopkinton, if Hopkinton decides to participate, is $200,000 that year, any penalty leaving that should not exceed our annual assessment. And I believe, one last change. Choice of forum, this is an issue that we run into when we get into regionalization. Towns belong to different counties. In our case, we are part of Middlesex County. The district office will be in Worcester County, so we've identified the Worcester court system as the jurisdiction for all legal challenges relative to the district. I believe those are the changes that were made between the time the board met last time and Friday when we issued the draft AMA. Did I miss out anything?
Any comment on the changes? Straightforward? Okay.
I actually have one comment on the changes. I do actually appreciate that it will be the police chief and the fire chief if in fact we do something like this as our representatives. I think that makes a great deal of sense.
In fact, if I may, through the chair, I had an extensive discussion. Pat, thank you for your time. One of the issues that we discussed was part of capturing the value add for this community and moving towards a rec is the fact that the individuals who have built this system here, the fire chief, the police chief, will be members of the operations committee. That's the committee that will define how the rec center operates day to day.
So then we're going to begin our discussion. I think I might go first tonight. Hold on. Let's see. So I just want everyone to know that I think, like all of us, I've struggled with this quite a bit. There's, it's different and new. We've not done it. But so what I'm struggling with most, I think, is that I know we don't have to join one, and we could put it off, 5 years, 10 years, probably, or more if we wanted. But the choice before us now is kind of which towns do we want to be with, and do we want to be in on one from the ground floor, or do we want to join one later, even if that later is 10 years or more later. And so for me, if we do join one, I would like to be with neighboring towns that we do mutual aid with. So for me, Southborough and Westborough sort of fits that bill. And I think there would be more local knowledge from dispatchers from Southborough and Westborough than if we had to, as you probably know, Sherburne has joined one in Holbrook, 20 miles away. So it seems like they probably have lost their local knowledge with their dispatchers. And then the other factor, too, is if we were to join one now, we do have priority in hiring for staff members that are currently in any of the 4 towns. And if we wait 2 or 3 years, if we join one in even 5 years, the center will be staffed, and we will lose the dispatchers that we have, and we will lose that local knowledge. And so, and I am not comfortable with the dark station. I think we've all said that, but not explicitly. So, to me, if we would approve this tonight, I would also want to make a motion that we would we would continue to staff the police headquarters with an officer or other employee at all times of day and night to the public. I would definitely be interested in that. And so I think it is the better choice to go now and to go sign the IMA with the neighboring towns and get the priority hiring for our staff members, because I fear the future, and I know the future is unknown, but that's where I'm standing at the moment, and I'd be happy to hear from everyone else.
I'm happy to go next if that's okay, Madam
Yep.
Chair. So, thank you all for being here. Thank everybody for participating. I know this process, as Amy said, has not been easy for many people, for us either, but that's why we get paid the big bucks, I like to say. Anyway, I appreciate the patience of our professional dispatching staff. I want to look up and actually look at you all. This has been hardest on you. I also appreciate the investment of time that our professional staff has put into this to date. And thank you all that have invested your time in investigating and taking your personal time to come before us, often sharing your opinions and chiefly your support for our professional dispatching staff. So I do have a statement, but I'm going to just say up front, I'm candidly not able to vote yes at this time. But I do recommend that we study this openly to set the specific criteria we will use to consider this decision if and or when we do decide to join a regionalized call center. In my opinion, we need performance data for dispatching both for the Hopkinton team and for other regionalized centers, hopefully those that have been in service for 2 years or more. I also recognize that this is not an apples-to-apples comparison, but performance data to interact with and to use to compare options as we make our decision is a must to begin truly understanding the benefits that may include greater surge capacity, efficiencies, improved personnel management, greater consistency, and enhancements. But without some comparative data, and I do not believe that the state is not collecting data, and if they're not, that's a bigger problem. We need some data to interact with in terms of performance. I think we also need cost projections for at least 5 years that includes the cost of supporting our share of a REC's operation and maintaining staff in the police station so it does not, quote-unquote, go dark. Compare those to our projected costs for continuing as we are operating today, keeping dispatching services in town. I appreciate that we are all committed to maintaining the staff station, but we do need to understand the costs with better specificity for that. We also need to recognize that the REC model is likely our future in Massachusetts, and we don't know when that is necessarily going to be. We did hear that we weren't going to be forced into it. That's also not a guarantee. I think it behooves us to start now to fully understand the impacts and how to mitigate for those impacts when or if we do make the change. At the moment, I feel we're trying to hurry up to meet an opportunity that may or may not be the right opportunity. I'm prepared to miss this grant opportunity this year, understanding our opportunities may change in the out years. It is preferable to me to do that than to make a hurried decision without the advanced planning I feel we need to ensure a safe and smooth transition. I'm not as worried as some that folks will have trouble learning the nuances of the town. That's something that all new dispatchers have to do, whether they're located in town or in a REC in the future, but that is not to say that I dismiss the value of our staff that we're fortunate enough to have today. It's clear to me that we need a better understanding of the differing needs of the police and fire departments as we study this going forward, and if there are improvements we need to address, that's important to know as well. Before we make this kind of decision, the implications and options need to be assertively socialized with our residents. We really did not do a good job with that. Residents to date are overwhelmingly opposed, and frankly, they deserve a say in how we approach this. It may happen that we are forced to do it in the future, but my belief is that we can and should fully vet our options and make the decision to transition to a REC center when we are ready and have transition plans fully prepared to implement that residents can be confident in. It's a very emotional decision. about our response personnel. I have, Pat O'Brien has scooped up one of my family members off the side of the street. I get it, right? And the folks that respond to us when we're in need are deeply appreciated, absolutely. I know we will be able to join a rec in the future. We're not missing out on an opportunity to do this if it turns out that we feel strongly that it's the right thing. And understand we may not have an opportunity to be part of starting one. The benefits of being one of the first towns to form a rec for me have not been truly identified. They remain largely unknown, and none will be guaranteed. Addressing some of the items we have considered, staffing levels. The one thing we were encouraged to be mindful of when we visited a rec center, and a factor that is important to all of our residents, is staffing levels. We have invested in our dispatching staff at a particular level. That potential benefit has already been taken off the table in the may versus shall disconnect regarding said staffing levels. Preferential consideration for hire for our dispatching staff is important to me. But I recognize that the staff understand we will lose that and maintain that they do not want to make the change at this time, so I respect their input on that. They may, of course, still apply at any time to a new or existing rec and may likely feel it is important to do so as the state continues its efforts to regionalize emergency dispatching services, and we would support our staff doing what it is they need to do to protect themselves in the future. I'll be candid, the Westboro location troubles me a lot. We would need a great deal of information on the safety of a site that has the many environmental concerns that a Superfund site has. And it doesn't mean I dismiss the state's input, but man, if I'm going to sit on a piece of property all day, every day, I'm going to want to know that there's no chance that I am going to be environmentally negatively impacted. If the site, for example, was at the center school location, that would be a different benefit to Hopkinton. But the Superfund site is a real worry for me. So while if my colleagues on the board agree, while we're studying this over the next 6 months, it would. I'm going to leave that point off anyway. But so I struggled with this. I gave it a lot of thought. I listened to every single person. I took notes. I can probably tell you who said what when they said it. And we can't make a decision like this based on emotion, and I know that it's very hard to parse it all out. I really tried to keep an open mind, sort of the lack of specificity and data, and also our responsibility to include residents and roll it out in a way that people can respond and react to without a sense of alarm is very important to me. So I'm a no tonight.
Thank you. Irfan, did you want to go next?
Sure. So I don't dispute anything that Mr. Kramer just said. I've been struggling with this as well. And where I ultimately fall is that I haven't heard a reason why we need to do this now. I understand the getting the ground floor argument, but it seems to be outweighed by all the question marks as to what is the real benefit. That said, so that's kind of my personal thing, but outside of that, we also have the issue of public involvement. And so far, we've only heard, I haven't heard very many opinions that are in support of this. Usually the no's, people oppose, will be the loudest voices, and that's what we would expect to hear. And those who are in favor, I wouldn't expect them to be as passionate about it. But I do think the public has a right to express themselves, and I think with being able to take this to town meeting and getting the view of the public as to whether or not we really want to do this would bring me a little more we give you more confidence in a vote in favor of this. If the public said they wanted to, or the public said they didn't. But it seems like, for us 5 board members to guide the town to a pretty major change in how our public safety is operating. I think that's a difficult thing for me to say we should have that power. So when it comes, in short, I think this should go before town meeting. I think we could go ahead and, enter into the IMA now, but respond to what the public says at town meeting. And but if it is really overwhelmingly no, then we can say that at town, that be a message to town meeting, we withdraw and continue on. Personally, I haven't heard a real benefit for this, but I think that all sides should have an opportunity to speak. That's what I call this.
Thank you. Mary Jo?
Yeah, I have been really going back and forth over this thing because, the rec might be progress, it might be future benefits, it might be the way the state's going, but it's not right now. And I'm very disappointed in what the state has given us as information to go by. It was like the firefighters' local letter today just hit me right there. We need a new study to reflect and the more accurate information to support a rec, and we haven't received enough information to develop it. And I was not necessarily terribly impressed with Norfolk. It is an impressive thing, but it's costing them money, it's costing them more money, they're having trouble getting people to work for them, and we're not. And I was very impressed with our dispatchers at our police station. And I found it to be very adequate and very good for the town of Hopkinton. I also know that this is a very emotional subject because it needs change. And I'm not sure that change isn't coming. But I can't sign this tonight. I just don't feel secure enough. When I do, I want to be able to say this is the best thing for Hopkinton. And tonight I can't say that.
Yeah, I think most have been said, and I would resonate the same that Muriel and Mary Jo are focused on. And to that extent, it seems we all are, or most of us are in understanding that there's no clear benefit, and then there's no clear understanding about the rationale, or one could argue, me included, there's not enough strong argument or data to move forward. So instead of keeping it hanging, I would vote for a no tonight to stop it as if we all agree to not move forward. Because we are looking for some data, we are looking for some argument that we haven't seen in the last couple of months in 8 or 10 meetings, in many discussions. So most likely there is none. But I would encourage to have certainly a full study and gathering the continuation of the gathering of the data and the questions being answered more clearly, being communicated more clearly for a future time. But what that future time is, TBD. We don't want to come back to it every other month or even every other year, because it is a distraction and it is a stress, and it is if we all decide that it's not something we see or foresee in the near future, we don't want to waste our town's time, our time in discussing something that doesn't have any significant new information or rationale to be reconsidered. That goes with any topic or any subject. And I do have 10 points to substantiate my decision. I'll just go over those quickly to summarize because we discussed it in the last 8 or 10 meetings. Since we are taking the vote tonight, I think it's pretty important that we kind of hear it together, my perspective and the rationale for my vote. So the first one is the economic benefit. We heard about it and we see it on various forms and consultant documents, and we keep saying, and it is clear, talking to the rec center that we visited, talking to the state director that we spoke to, that it is not conclusive that the economic benefit is there. And just to point out a few, that the projection of the staffing is not substantiated enough. The dark station coverage is not included in the cost. And then other potential remediation of building and other things is not clear enough. Second is the operational efficiency that we theoretically understand a little bit, but when we ask for the data, even though there has been 31 rec centers and 48% of the state towns adopted it, we didn't get any data or any statistics to substantiate that argument from the state director or from anyone for that matter. There's an argument about new capital equipment that is considered as a saving if we go and get the grant, but we do spend capital spending of this amount, even less or more, for our safety, public safety. It is a prime. Every time we hit a $500,000, $1 million, $1.5 million capital spending, we don't want to escape it and look for a workaround if there is not enough substantial argument or data to do that. We are going to lose a lot of great talents, jobs, who has spent their lifelong dedicated to our town, helping us stay safe, and their lifelong career is going to potentially be at risk. So there's a huge human part of it. We're going to lose the familiarity of faces, voices, and knowledge that we get and hear today from our own dispatch center. That is tremendously valuable, especially in a semi-rural town, character that we have and the character that we want to keep. Obviously, we will need additional resource for dark station, and that will increase the cost, and we haven't accounted for that anywhere. We are talking about we won't have that dark station, which definitely we don't want, but it would incur additional cost. So if we don't have that in the equation, it doesn't give us the full picture, and we are not seeing the full picture. Our current dispatchers and their service and the whole system is working well. We get good ratings on various fronts, and nothing seems to be broken. So what are we fixing? If nothing, then it is not a high priority at this moment, in my view. Other towns have much to gain compared to us. So if we look at the other towns, 2 of the towns have 1 dispatcher, so obviously they're going to get a larger pool. It's a sure shot for them. Good luck to them. The larger one, Westboro, has a different gain also that we don't have. They're going to get a center on their location, and that will have more economic benefit to them, I can see that. And they're also characteristically different with with higher volume of 911 calls. They have the highest, and that will give them more synergy, I can see that. But we are in a situation where we don't have any of those direct benefits. We are seeing the benefits with a matured and well-run dispatcher group here with the equipments. Of course, need some upgrade, understandably, but compared to them, I don't see our decision to be, as clearly substantiated from benefit perspective. We hear about the first adoption advantage, and it's not very clear to me because of 2 things. One is that even if I look at the numbers, right now all the combined numbers looks like there are going to be 25 dispatchers today across all the towns, and then the target number is 15. So obviously 10 to 12 people are going to lose their jobs. So if we have 12 dispatchers, there will be at least 40 to 50% top more. I mean, obviously, we're not going to get all 12 seats of the 15 seats. So there will be a rationalization across, and rightfully so. There will be interview process. So I don't see that we will get more seats because going first. Rather, even if we go 10 years later, there's enough justification whenever we bring that volume to substantiate with the right number. What that number is to be determined, but right now I don't see that first adoption advantage from that perspective. And then the second argument for that is that we want to see a framework should at any point anyone wants to go to a rec center-like framework that is well designed to give equal opportunity to all the towns and have principles that are driven by equity and professional equality. So I wouldn't even formulate a framework that gives a first going advantage versus 10-year, 5-year later joining disadvantage. If we are doing it that way, that to me doesn't sound the right framework. We heard from our residents. I heard from more than 100, and 99% of them are not in favor of this, and we represent our town's voice, so I do value that, and I combine that with my rationale, with my interpretation of data, and I don't see enough argument again. And then finally, what exactly is the whole rationale, data, logic, and all this combined is not clear and is not strong enough. And it reminds me of a funny statement I heard when we get into opinions, get into analyzing and coming to a decision is, if you have data and logic, let's hear it. And if all we have are opinions, let's go with mine. Of course, I don't want to do that, but that's the kind of thinking we need to keep in mind. So how do we move forward from here? I think we do want to make a decision, and I would support that we collect more information, we collect and continue to tune, communicate with state level, with other towns, as we have spoken to the state director, and he also is new and said he's going to start or has started a project to evaluate. I would like to hear from that. And most likely it will be something that we want to tie with our growth and our volume, and see at a point where our volume and growth really forces us, or really makes it very clear argument and value proposition for us to join for something like this. And at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, we don't want to get back to it every year. That wouldn't be the very productive way of handling it. So once we vote no, we would like to stay in touch, but unless there is enough substantial new information and argument, we don't want to go back to it in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years. We can talk about that. So my vote is no for tonight, and let's not spend more time than what we have. And I appreciate everyone's comments, everyone's efforts, everyone's analysis, everyone's evaluation. We all want to do the right thing. We want to do the right value, bring the right value for the town. So fully appreciate the town administration's work, all the people involved, stakeholders' work. And I think we spent enough time and due time, which we should. That's our job. We get the big bucks for that. And I think this is the right transparency to bring to this, as we also heard from the state director that he was impressed to see how diligently we are evaluating it. And I think this is the right thing to do, but let's stop it tonight. Thank you.
Okay, so I think based on our straw poll here, we do not have the votes to support the IMA tonight. So, but it's usually better to make motions in the positive.
Yeah,
to make
I
it
will
clear.
make the motion. It is better to make it in the positive, just so everybody understands, so that when people are voting yes, it's yes, and if they're voting no, it's no. I think I've made my position clear, but I'm happy to make the motion because I think we need the vote.
Okay. And then, so I think Irfa and I both would be more comfortable voting yes if all three were included, so I don't know if you want to read all three.
I'm happy to do all three. Should we do them one at a time, though? Right?
I guess we could, and we could just state our reasons in the discussion then.
Okay, so motion
There's no
number...
point in doing the other two.
I'm sorry, say it again.
If the first one fails, there's no point in
Yeah.
the other two.
Do you want me to, what do you want me to do?
If the first one fails, there's no point in moving the next.
That's what I thought too, but then I
Okay.
thought you wanted to.
I'll
do
just
a
save my
long-term.
opinion in the comments then, but
Whatever
Okay.
feels right, okay. So the question is, shall the municipality accept the provisions of sections 180 to 18V inclusive of Chapter 6A of the general laws providing for the establishment of a regional 911 emergency communication district, together with the towns of Hopkinton, Grafton, Southborough, and Westborough, and the construction or siting, administration, operation, and maintenance of a regional 911 emergency communication center by the district under the provisions of the proposed district agreement filed with the Select Board, and to execute and to authorize the chair to execute said agreement with any non-substantive changes made prior to the submission of the grant application. I move to vote in the affirmative to the question presented and to accept the provisions of the proposed district agreement, including Hopkinton's right to withdraw from the same on or before June 1st, 2023.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? And I think I would just add here, I would vote in favor if the other two motions were included, to have it at town meeting and to resolve that we would not have a dark station, but on the first motion alone, I don't know, I would not vote it alone, but, okay. So we need a roll call vote?
Neil Kramer's no.
Mary Jo Lafreniere, no.
Shaggy Mannan is no.
Thomas will be yes.
Amy Ritter Bush is a yes. Okay, all right, so we are done for tonight, that motion fails.
Yep.
Through the chair, I apologize that I need to sign off at this time.
Yep.
Good night.
So,
Thank you.
good night, everyone.
Through the chair. I just want to thank Mr. Kamalo for this IMA. A lot of time and a lot of work was devoted into it. It didn't pass tonight, but in the future, it may be a good starting point for whatever comes up. But it was a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you're to be commended for it.
If I may, in fact, credit goes to Chief Miller, Police Chief Bennett, Communications Director Megan Durand. We all presented different perspectives, contributed based on our professional expertise. Also want to thank the dispatchers for your continued commitment to the community, hanging in there and continuing to speak up. Also want to thank the community for coming out and sharing your viewpoints with us. Clearly, as I've said in past meetings, this is not the first time we've touched this topic, and I'm sure it's going to come up again.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our next agenda item is the board and committee appointments. The select board will consider appointing a member to the Council on Aging. There's one vacancy with the term expiring of June 30th, 2024, and we have two applicants. If either of the applicants is either here in person or on Zoom, invite them to speak.
Come forward.
Oh, you come forward, yep. What's your name?
My name's Carla Pepka.
Okay, you're Carla Pepka. And is Paula Huss here or on Zoom? I don't, oh, somebody's got their, oh, she's got her hand raised, she's on Zoom. Okay, great. Okay, so welcome, and thank you for volunteering to be on a board or committee. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and why you'd like to be on the Council of Aging?
I've always worked with seniors all my life, and I feel I have a lot of experience that I could help advocate for the town seniors.
Okay. And Paula, did you want to tell us a little bit about your background and why you're interested in serving on the Council on Aging? She's muted. Oh, there she is, okay.
Okay, sorry about that. First, I wanted to thank the Select Board for considering my application. Yes, I live just a couple of blocks from the senior center, and I'm down there a lot. I I'm a senior citizen, and I participate a lot. I eat lunches down there, I do exercise classes, I do other activities down there. I know the staff very well. I really, really like the senior center, and I think it would be a great opportunity for me to serve on the Council on Aging, and I would enjoy that experience very much. I do have experience in city government and also in nonprofit boards. And so thank you again, and do you have any specific questions for me?
We will go around. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
So, do you mind if I go? So, through you, Madam Chair, just tell us a little bit about the programming at the senior center that you enjoy and what you would like to see happen. And we can start with, I'm sorry, Paula, and then we'll come back.
This is Carla.
Okay. Oh, Paula, I said, right? We'll start with Paula this time and come to Carla in a second.
Okay.
Paula and Carla.
I really appreciate the lunch program. I have done, I think, 6 of the different exercise classes and really enjoyed those. I've been in the Weight Off Wisely program. I've attended art presentations, Zoom presentations, and they've all been excellent. So it's a great place.
And Carla.
I haven't been at the senior center that much. I'm a recent retiree, working in senior care for, I don't know, 30 years, and I have grandchildren that I've been involved with too. But I have taken some art classes at the senior center and a sewing class. I've been to their fair. I have been to lunch there. So it is a great place. It really is.
That's all I wanted to ask.
Does anyone else have questions or comments? This is going to be a very difficult decision, I have to say, because I wish we had 2 spots.
Right now, there is only 1 vacancy. However,
we do all the time get additional vacancies.
We always get vacancies in different things. So I just want to encourage both of you, depending on who is not selected tonight, to please keep your eyes open and believe me, before you know it, there will be a vacancy that you would want to apply for.
Through the chair, I would echo the same. Thank you both for stepping up. And unfortunately, it looks like we have only 1. So whoever does not get it, please join us on another committee or come back for this when we have more opening. But keep up the enthusiasm and all the energy. We really love it. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Keep enjoying the senior center. It's great.
Just trying to see what else we had open right now. We do have the Sustainable Green Committee. We just had a resignation last time. Youth Commission has vacancies. Upper Charles Trail Committee, alternate member vacancy. But then again, we might get another Council on Aging vacancy in the near future too, we don't know. So, does anyone want to make a motion? I'm very on the fence here.
I'm going to take a break. With deep appreciation to both applicants, I will move to appoint Paula Haas to the Council on Aging for the term expiring 6/30/2024.
I'll second it.
Okay. We don't need to do roll call vote because our fund is left, I think, right? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstain? All right, so Carla, we hope to get you on a committee the very next time that we can.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, and please come back.
All right.
If I may,
Council, and I'll be at the next meeting with the Council on Aging.
Okay.
Thank you.
Enjoy.
Next, we have Historic District.
if I may, through the chair, Paula, we have a great institution in town. It's called the Friends of the Seniors. They do a lot of good work for the seniors. Please reach out to the Senior Center Director and you may learn more and find another glorious opportunity working alongside the Friends of the Seniors.
I forgot there, there's 2 different committees, really. Okay, so
We
that's a
would
good
love
point.
to have you.
Yeah.
Okay. So the director is here tonight, I think, right? Maybe she could reach out. Yeah, Amy back in the back of the room. Yeah, so maybe they could reach out next week. Okay, and so our next appointment is the Hopkins Historic District Commission. There are, I think, 3 different vacancies, but we have 1 applicant, Suzanne, and she qualifies for the at-large vacancy. So is Suzanne Green on the Zoom or in the room? thought I saw her on the Zoom earlier. No? Okay. All right, so I did read through the documentation and the resume that Suzanne submitted, so I'm very happy to have her on the committee. If someone would like to make a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Suzanne with appreciation, Suzanne Green. I've lost my place on the...
Yeah, Suzanne
I'm sorry,
Green.
Suzanne Green.
To term expires.
To a term expiring 6/30/2025. I'm
Yes.
back. On the Hopkinton Historic District Commission.
Okay.
Second.
Second, okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstained? All right, and so a big thank you to Melanie Smith, who served on this committee for many, many years, well before I did, and I know she was ready to move on, and so I'm happy we have someone new to fill her seat, but big shoes to fill.
Yes, yes, thank you for saying that. Melanie has served the town and Tommy too, and...
Yeah, she's the
amazing
longest
ways.
serving member of that commission.
Wow, well, many thanks to Melanie.
Yeah. Okay, and the next item is a one-day special temporary alcohol license for the Hopkinton Little League. Okay, select board will consider approving a special temporary alcohol license for Jessica Staffiori on behalf of the Hopkinton Little League for its annual fundraiser. The event is to be held on May 19th, 2023, from 7 to 11 at St. John's Parish Hall, located at 20 Church Street. Alcohol will be served by tip-certified servers and will be supplied from Marty's and Startline Brewery. In addition, the board will consider a fee waiver for the license application.
So moved.
Well, is the applicant here? Or, oh, she's here if we have questions. Okay.
It's a wonderful program, and I always enjoyed it. So-
I just want to make clear that the alcohol license is for the parents of the Little League.
Yes, yes, adults only. And
It
then,
sounds so funny, an alcohol license for the Little League.
and were there any adverse comments from staff? I don't think, let me just look through.
I don't remember any.
We've had this before, in many past years, so it all seems to be in order.
Okay. Oh, that's for an individual who's certified as a crowd manager, is that?
Correct,
you have
yep,
one?
so Ted Twinny from Startline.
Okay, great. And a police detail would be requested, it looks like. Okay. All right, so, all right, any questions for the applicant, or ready to make a motion?
I don't. I'm happy to move to approve the special temporary alcohol license for the Hopkinton Little League annual fundraiser on May 19th, 2023, as submitted.
The second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay.
Thanks for coming
Thank you,
tonight.
thank you for waiting too.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the OUI last drink data from Chief Bennett. And there was a memo on this in our packet, as well as some statistics.
Long memo.
Very long.
Very long.
It's a long memo from me.
All right, do you want to go through with this?
Sure. Through the chair, good evening, everybody. So periodically through the Attorney General's office, through the District Attorney's office in each county, they collect data at the time of conviction for people convicted of operating under the influence of alcohol. The last question asked is, what was the last place that you drank? Responses typically are either private or they name the establishment. They collect that data and they send it to us periodically. They actually send it to Connor, to the clerk. And the most recent report we got outlined the period between October 21st and September 22nd. So it's historical data. We had two restaurants, or two establishments that serve alcohol that were listed as the person gave that as their last place where they consumed alcohol, and that was the 110 Grill in September 29th of 2021, and Co., which was November 13th of 2020.
Wow, those are both quite a long time ago.
They are.
Yeah,
They
okay.
are. So it's difficult because there's no way to really forensically go back and ask, well, how did the person present, who served, you know, there's not much to work with.
So it's for 1 month duration,
no, it's a year.
Year.
So October of year 1 to September of year 2?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So, with that being said, we have a good relationship with our establishments in town. Prior to COVID, we would have regular training with them and welcome them in to discuss things. We do periodic inspections annually of the establishment, and I've reached out to the managers at both facilities and just reviewed their policies on over-serving and training
and I outlined them a little bit in there. They both have training programs. Servers have the authority to shut someone off, and they are instructed that if they're not comfortable doing it themselves, that they can request the manager to do it. The 110 Grill has a drink limit on certain drinks, specifically martinis. That's across the organization. So that's what they shared with me on the phone. I gave them a call because if I'm going to be talking about one of our community businesses, we don't want them to first learn that, hey, you were on the that being said, what I would suggest, or what I can offer is, I've spoken with the members of the Detective Bureau who are willing to invite all establishments in. They have a PowerPoint presentation that they've begun updating already to review laws that relate to the premise. For instance, you can't block windows with posters. They have to be able to be visible from within. There's a whole group of laws that govern alcohol establishments, last call, tip certification, and training that we can review with them to set them up for success. No establishment wants to lose their license for a period of time as a punishment. And in the past, we've had very good response from the establishments to the invitation to come and train with us.
Does anyone have any questions about the report or the process?
I do, if you don't mind. You just mentioned nobody wants to lose their license. Is there a consequence other than, what happens when they are identified as the last call establishment?
So that's not within my authority. I don't issue the alcohol license.
Right.
So maybe someone else could speak to what's happened.
So that's us. Well, I didn't know if there was legally something that happened in that process, or if there's procedurally something that happens in that process.
Two parts. One is there's the legal process where you go to court and the courts determine what happens. That's the one aspect. The second aspect, I think, relates to what you just heard from the chief, where clearly the message from the town is if you hold an alcohol license, there are certain obligations that come along with that. And as a community, we're partnering with you. And in instances where some establishment is identified as the last place saved, all we can do is to do the public education. However, if they become a repeat offender in that regard, then we shift to the next phase where the select board invites the manager in and has a different conversation. And at that point, the board may decide to hold a public hearing to take any action regarding the license. So that's what happens.
Okay, thank you very much.
One of the things that we can do as an enforcement agency, and this is a formal announcement that will come out in print, we will be beginning our season of going into establishments and doing compliance checks. It will come out in the form of, it comes out, you may have seen it before, it's just a press release saying that we're beginning compliance checks at the local establishments, and that we're moving into the spring. Typically that happens in the spring season. I've reached out to the ABCC and spoken with their compliance division, and they are willing to support us in that, and they're also willing to go in and undercover and for over-serving. They stand ready at my request.
Okay, and then you would come back with a report to us if establishments failed the compliance check, right?
Yes.
And you would meet with them again and all that?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the chair, what is the best practice for the restaurants to avoid this generally?
The training is good, and then a good, strong culture of supporting each other. The servers need to know that they can shut someone off, and the managers aren't going to be upset. We don't want to see anybody get hurt because they didn't realize that they were overserved. And it really is an issue of overserving. It's not the person drinking's responsibility, you know. It is when they get out in the car and they have to deal with us, but in the moment in the restaurant, it's the establishment's responsibility to make sure that they don't overserve.
Thank you. So you're planning to have a conversation with the restaurants and restaurant owners to give them that feedback?
Yeah, specifically, I would strongly recommend that they come in attendance, and then we will invite everybody to be in attendance for the training.
Makes sense, thank you.
If I may, there's another layer to this point. Namely, we have no way of verifying the information that the individual gives to the officer where they laxated drink.
Especially with it coming so late after the incident, too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Kamau.
Right, someone could have had their last drink at home, but they mentioned a bar instead. Or a different bar. Yeah.
Or a friend's house and they pick someplace else because they don't want to
Don't
throw
want
their
their friend
friend
in
under the
trouble,
bus.
yeah.
There's all kinds of things that could happen, I suppose. Well, I appreciate that, that you run, that you reach out, that there is a process in place to address it, and that, that there are the compliance checks, obviously.
And actually, I think, without naming any names or anything, that the fact that we only had 2 establishments in a year is a pretty good record.
I agree.
Zero. We want to have none. The record's going to be 0, but...
Through the chair, I would agree. I would agree.
Okay, I think we're all set. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting it together, because Connor did set us spreadsheets a while ago, and I did not have time to go through them, so I appreciate that you did. Okay. All right, and so next, thank you for waiting.
Don't you wish you came last week?
Well, last week was a long wait, too.
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah, you may be happier to have me here alone, right? Good evening. So Senior Services vision for Hopkinton is a community where seniors and individuals can thrive. Our goals going into the next fiscal year are to develop and build our ability to identify and provide resources and services for a diverse community, to broaden our programming to promote awareness, appreciation, and to help promote inclusiveness and belonging in Hopkinton, and to continue our work towards Hopkinton becoming an age and dementia-friendly community. Senior Services endeavors to reach as many seniors as possible, utilizing our newsletter mailed to their home or through online access. A foreign language version of the newsletter is also found on the town website and through social media and HCAMP, to name just a few. Our programs and services are definitely back to pre-COVID levels. In fact, we are actually offering more than ever before. While most of our programs are in person, we have found that there are some seniors who are unable to come to the senior center, and as a result, we have continued to offer virtual programs and some hybrid programming, which allows for in-person and virtual attendance. I'm very fortunate to work with an extremely dedicated and caring staff, along with our many volunteers, and we work with just about every town department to support and provide more for Hopkinton seniors. Every day we see examples of seniors engaged in the community by attending and enjoying lunch, taking part in exercise and art classes, or sitting and chatting with friends. Belonging and engaging with the community increasingly looks like a non-English speaking attendee who through technology is participating in activities. It's welcoming those living with dementia and their caregivers to our memory cafe and to other events. And it's assisting seniors and families with fuel assistance applications so they can continue to live comfortably and safely in their homes. So breaking down our budget for senior services, if you break it down into 2 sections, our operating budget actually reflects an increase of 4.4%. We've asked for an increase to our postage due to growth, and more recently also having postage increases. But most of our seniors receive a hard copy, which is still the preferred form of delivery. We do have increased our levels of online or email listing that they can receive it in their mailbox or email box. We've also added to our conference line, which is to support staff development. The team is relatively new, and we're looking to invest in their development with training, certifications, and attendance to conferences, which really expand their skill set and in turn brings more to our seniors. We did show an efficiency with our mileage where we decreased our requests for the upcoming year. When you look at our salary line increase and add it to the operating budget, we are over the 8.6%. Our salary line was dramatically impacted by the salary reclassifications this past year, which impacted about half the staff. We currently have asking, there's actually no changes that we're looking at for our full-time employees. And when we look at our part-time employees, there's no new staff. We are asking for an increase in hours. We've had one of our cooks request to go from 2 days to 1, which now means that our head chef goes from 3 days to 4. So that's kind of absorbed, but we are asking to increase her hours to cover planning and shopping. She takes care of that, which is an efficiency because we're able to do what we need when we need it instead of pre-ordering stuff. I believe that our budget reflects our ability to reach the goals we've mentioned in the coming year. We really are able to provide a lot for very little. Do you have any questions?
I was wondering if we're missing a slide, because the one we have doesn't have numbers or percentages. Is there one more slide or no?
I don't know there's one with the numbers. We did talk about the staffing.
Okay.
Percent of your total budget increases?
Yeah, 8.6. 4.4 is operating alone, so the additional is where we get into the salaries.
But you're not on the list here of those who are over, so it balanced out, is that right?
It does balance out. I think the overall increase is 4.4%. And I think for the sake of the public at home, the dramatic increase in the salary line for the senior services department was driven by our commitment to equity. Some of our lowest paid employees are serving our seniors.
Yeah, I definitely support that.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that that's happening, so.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I just have to say that I spent some time at the senior center, and that dementia, that cafe, is amazing. I know I ran a table for them. Mrs. Suwara runs it, and I was so extremely impressed at not only the patients or the people with the problem, but the family that came with them, enjoying them and we're helping them out. It's an amazing program, and I really want to see that one continue more than anything, but it's great.
And we have a wonderful group of volunteers who get involved in that and show up every month for that.
Through the chair, I also want to echo, I always enjoyed being there. I think it's a very friendly and amicable place where everyone enjoys the time, good food and good companions, and a lot of good programs. And it's amazing with the budget that, the outcome that we see. I think you're running a wonderful operation.
And you can practice your
Keep up the good
puzzles.
work.
Yes.
That's true.
And you won it.
Not me, my team.
Share us your secrets or train us.
Cheat. That's awesome. That's
Great.
No, I don't think I have any other comments, but it sounds great, and I'm glad you're, expanding programs and doing all these things.
Great. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
In fact, Amy, let me also take this opportunity to highlight a few things about your team's excellent efforts. One, as I said earlier, there's a fantastic partnership between the Senior Services Department and the Council on Aging and the Friends of the Seniors.
Exactly.
The numbers that you see on our budget that are funded from the general fund are what they are because of the immense work, positive impact by the Friends of the Seniors. I think we need to acknowledge that. The second piece, the line item where you have an increase in terms of mailing, it needs to be said. This increase could have been higher were it not for the efficiencies that her team have built into this entire program of publishing information that is very, very helpful for our seniors. There are a lot of efficiencies that have been built into it that are making the number much lower. And then last but not least, your commitment to find ways to reach out to all seniors, I think is part of the driver behind the increase that you see. So thank you for your effort.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Okay, I see Tim is here. Is he on the agenda? Or you were here for this item?
He loves budgets, that's why he's here.
Okay.
He really loves budgets.
Wouldn't miss one for the
Yeah, he really loves budgets.
So, town meeting warrant, do we have anything to review or discuss on that?
In fact, item 9,
What's it?
item 9, I want to give an update on the budget, and then we'll move on to the...
Oh, capital budget.
If that's okay.
Okay, go ahead. So, sorry, there's more on number 9, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I want to emphasize that my remarks are intended more to highlight where we are in the budget process. As part of the ongoing discussion of the FY24 comprehensive budget message, I can report that town staff and I are continuing to work on the strategies identified, in fact, on page 3 of the comprehensive budget transmittal. You may have been wondering why we keep including that exhibit. It's just to remind board members, the public, of the key message that was built around the budget as is proposed. Namely, just to revisit those issues, reducing the scale of some proposed budget increases, identifying additional items in operating budgets that can be funded in FY 2023 or FY 2024 from available revolving fund balances. Thirdly, continuing to negotiate the substantial increase in employee health insurance that is projected. And then finally, identifying items in the school and other department operating budgets that can be appropriately removed and recategorized as one-time expenditures to be funded with additional free cash. Those are the items that I identified in the memo already. To move forward in this work, I would like, as I've said, to hear directly from the select board. You talk regularly with your constituencies, with our constituencies, with your neighbors, on some of the issues that we've raised this year and in previous years. And in talking with the finance team, we came up with a few topics for your consideration. I don't normally give my bosses homework, but this time we're going to give you homework. And this is not for discussion today, but I think we need to be ready to discuss it at the board's next meeting. So here are some questions for your consideration. And they're intended again to cement the partnership that we've built between town staff, town boards, the town boards like school committee, appropriations committee, as well as we have said this year, the residents. Number 1, pages 1 and 2 of the comprehensive budget message identified departments that have submitted over-target budget requests. The select board has heard from departments on these requests, and to move forward with the process, it will be helpful to know if the select board supports the over-target requests, or whether the select board will direct some specific reductions in these over-target requests. So that's homework number 1. Number 2, the comprehensive budget message recommends several actions that support town financial policies, including increased contributions to the OPEB account, funding to raise stabilization balances to adjust for growth in the overall budget proposal, and thirdly, payment for all recurring expenses with recurring revenue sources.
It's dry in here.
Again, in summary, pay towards our OPEB, raise the stabilization funds to account for the growth that we're seeing in budgets, and then we have also complied with paying recurring expenses with recurring funding sources. what is your homework? It will be helpful to know if the select board is committed to retaining this focus on compliance with financial policies, or if the select board supports backing off on some of these actions to balance the budget. We've done this in past years where we have used one-time funding sources to fund recurring costs, but at a very contained and restricted manner. And then thirdly, we've increased public engagement in the development of the FY 24 budget. We have had a number of public listening sessions as we work through the solutions. We're asking the board to think of other ways we can continue to engage the public in the development of these solutions. And number 4, the budget process has included a clear focus on the bold wave of capital requests that can only be achieved as debt exclusions under Proposition 2.5. And there has been extensive discussion of the tax impact those pending requests could have above and beyond the tax levy limit. Considering the future tax impact issue, it would be helpful to know if the select board plans to support all 5 requests for capital borrowing shown on enclosure 5 of the budget transmittal letter, or whether the select board supports deferring some or all of these proposals to manage the multi-year tax impact.
So can you show me exactly which document you're talking about? The FY24 Town Manager Comprehensive Budget with all enclosures?
Yes, it is all enclosures, and that is enclosure number 5. Okay?
Again, which page? That is... What's that?
What page number?
5.
It's enclosure 5.
Page number?
Enclosure 5.
They're not numbered that way.
Okay.
The memo is numbered the enclosure.
Enclosure. So
Oh, dear.
Enclosure 5, it's many pages in.
Okay, well, let me just find the page number, then we
Is that
then we can all find it here.
Yeah.
Okay, enclosure 3, enclosure 4. Okay, so
Yeah.
it is on
So it's at the end?
page 5, starting on page 15 is enclosure 5.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
I'm sorry, on the package, which pages?
So in the packet, there's a link to the comprehensive budget transmittal, and then it, hold on, so if you go to page 96 of the packet.
Okay.
Yep. All right, hold on, there's multiple steps here.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
If the board is interested in the page number, we will forward you via email.
No, I think, like, while you're talking, it's helpful for me to look at it, so let's make sure
Okay.
everybody's looking at it.
Okay.
So you click that link.
I'm still searching for page 96,
It's what?
sadly.
Oh, you're still scrolling to 96, okay.
describe it.
Don't wait for me, keep going.
Okay. Okay, but in...
We all set?
Well, once you get to that link, then you have to open the right document. That's what, it's multi-step.
I'm almost there, I'm on the wondering.
Yeah, it is
Last call.
it's giving me some other updates, but
Here, that-
carry on, we'll catch up.
If the board members are not able to find the page number in the next 45 seconds, the homework list will increase.
Oh, dear.
So,
Not for me, I found it.
Smarty pants.
I could text you the link to the document, but it...
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. I think I got the gist of it.
Okay, it's just, it's a list of items, and if I'm not looking at it while Mr. Connell is speaking, it's
Right, right.
harder to process it for me. I really, I'm visual
Okay.
in that way, in that manner. Okay. All right, so sorry, go ahead.
Okay, number 5. as you consider the 4 preceding questions and the tax impact issues discussed, is the Select Board comfortable with the combined tax impact of 2.9% for spending within the tax levy and for all 5 proposed capital projects this coming year? Finally, just for now, there has been reasonable concern expressed about the multi-year tax impact of the large bow wave of capital projects. The MWRA connection and the prospect of future operating requests like this year, for example, requests that are at 8.8%, that are far over target. Is there specific information the Select Board needs from us to evaluate this year's budget in terms of that longer term challenge? So those are the 5 questions that I thought might be helpful in guiding our collective discussion at our next meeting.
Okay. And you're going to send us the 5 questions in writing, right, for homework?
Yes.
Okay. And the 5 general fund borrowing excluded from the tax limit are the Chestnut Street sidewalk, AMC Park sidewalk, that's one item. Fire Station 2, architectural and engineering design. Hopkins Public Schools HVAC renewal work, Hopkins School expansion, and roadway paving for Fruit Street Fields and the cemeteries.
Yeah.
Okay. So we can think about those. Or we could react to them now, or we can think about it for next time.
Yeah, I think let's take it as homework.
Okay.
Again, the intention here is to identify where we are in the process and then begin to lay out a framework that could guide the discussions going forward. However, we, as you have seen in the last question, we're anticipating that there may be other ideas that the board may have that you're specifically looking to us to provide information on. So the FY24 budget proposal remains out of balance by 1.1 million as of today.
By 1.1 million?
Yes, 1.1. As discussed, our team is continuing to work on a balanced proposal, and your support in providing the guidance requested would be very helpful in moving the process forward.
Okay. And without these 5 capital projects, we're out of balance, is that correct? Because those would be voted, those would be voted separately.
Those just put us more out of
They just put more
balance.
out of balance, but out of the regular operating budget.
The 1.1 is on the operating side.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I think those are all good points, and we'll do our homework to evaluate further. But I think we need to look at the larger picture a little bit and raise that as a question and kind of task for all of us, which is that this 1.1 million challenge, and I don't think it is, but is it because we are inefficient? Is it because we are wasting money and doing something that we shouldn't do? I don't think so. I didn't get that flavor, talking to all these departments, talking and evaluating more and more with everyone, asking questions individually, school and all that, right? So if our growth and if our current situation of certain areas needs funding, how can we prioritize it? And if not, what is the story that we need to communicate to the town residents about the reality of things? That, I think, is something to also think about, because if we are not inefficient, if we are not wasting money, that tells me if we cut just because we want to meet a certain number, we're going to have to compromise somewhere. The quality is going to fall off or will be compromised, and be it school or be it individual service, fire, police, DPW, which we don't want, right? That the service levels are going to suffer. So, but it's a zero-sum game. I mean, you can't eat the cake and have it too. So how do we solve it is the larger question. Build that story, build that communication. And second is, I mean, we are where we are, but there are some pent-up demands that we have or didn't get to address because of the prioritization, because we always had some sort of challenges, right? Like we heard from the fire department, the chief said he didn't get any new staff for almost, I forgot the number, but it's 15, 20 years, some long-term numbers. We know that the dispatch systems need upgrades, and it's been, arguably 20 years, 30 years. So there has been pent-up demand and things that we could not address in the past. So if that is the case, what are our options? I would like to almost consider that, hey, to stay within budget or within the forecast, these are the things we need to compromise. Are we willing to do that? And if not, these are the other magic that team and you can do, or these are the other tax options that we have. Be completely transparent, and that's the best we can do, right? We can manage, we can plan, we can analyze, but at the end of the day, if we need a service and we don't have the money, we need to tell the story with the right context so everyone understands where we are. So more to come, I'm sure. The team is working on that.
I think you should be equipped with magical powers.
Yeah, we do keep hoping you guys will have more budget that might come, but yeah, I guess I'm definitely not wanting to see an operational budget override, for sure. I think we're all probably clear on that, and I don't want us to see us exceed our debt limit in the coming years. So I think for capital projects, we are really going to have to put some things off that we would like to have, but that we can't afford yet. It is really hard, though, as we've sat through all these budget presentations. Like, I didn't see a lot of fat that could be cut, but, people can always cut a little bit if necessary, I think. But I really didn't see, people always want more services. So I don't know, that's not, but, I think I am willing to decrease the OPEB and stabilization a little bit, but not a lot. I don't know.
So I took notes on my homework, and I'm going to dig into that. These are really big numbers in a lot of departments, but I think people can think about it in terms of what it means for yourself at home, right? So the more we spend that is beyond our means, we limit our options going forward, right? So we just make it, it's choices, there's choices. And there's a lot of things that we want. There's less things that we can sustainably afford. And if we don't make hard choices today, I promise you we will be invited to make hard choices next year and the year after, right? So we have to collectively lean in, all the departments, and excuse me, pursue a commitment to a sustainable approach. The thing that I want the most is this beautiful town to continue with all its wonderful services and amenities and great schools, and also be a town that folks like myself, now I get to say it, folks like myself can afford to stay in, right? So there's a balance in there, and achieving that balance is definitely filled with challenging choices. And I hope that all the departments that are affected, which is all of them, I hope they all lean in with us. I'd like to think that the Appropriation Committee might join us as well, because they're in charge of helping us make some of these challenging choices. But, for example, the school is a big percentage of the overage. We don't get to decide how they prioritize their spending, but we do get to invite them to join us in how we are going to think about creating a sustainable budget for this year that sets us up for more success in the out years. So I think that we all have to realize there's a lot of things that we need, there's a lot of things that we want, and if we can focus on what we really need, that will help everybody.
I guess we do need to invite our school committee colleagues too to think about it as well. And I assume everybody is constantly reevaluating their budget. This is the time of year when teachers and staff announce they might retire, and then you might think you might be able to hire a new staff next year that would be at a lower step in the salary scale. So it's possible they could even reduce their number for things like that. And I assume town hall's the same. There probably could be people retiring.
Yeah, and just to tag along, I think we all are in agreement that we don't want override. We all are in agreement that we don't want to cut services for the critical services that maintains our quality of life. Now, how do we determine that combined numbers feed into our desired number? One way we could do is, of course, we have been going through a lot of cycles of review with all the parties, is maybe it's a homework for Tim and Norman, again, is looking at the numbers. Do we do a peanut butter spread adjustment and then hear from each of them to do that adjustment? What is it that is going to be at stake? And then, as Muriel mentioned, we prioritize based on that. There will be, of course, 10 things that would be impacted if we take money out of all these asks, right? But then we can more concretely, working with them, may help collective decision that, okay, these 10 priorities are priorities, but maybe we can push few of them next year or few years later and continue to do that as we move forward.
Thanks, Shahidul, through you, Madam Chair. I also want to make sure I say out loud, that's just the operating budget, what I was talking about. The capital budget is extraordinary. We're faced with really hard decisions. And what we can do is not necessarily what we ought to do. And we need to make sure we're all really thinking thoughtfully about capital decisions that will impact our flexibility, our ability to respond to unexpected costs and expenses for several years, many years going out. And one of the things that keeps rattling around in my head, and whether or not it's a popular thought or not, I need to say it out loud, that if we're going to make a humongous investment into school capital building expenses, I'm going to want to know that we are solving our capacity issues when we do it. That's just me speaking. If we're not solving our capacity issues and we're spending a lot of money on capital costs, we absolutely need to rethink that, because we will just be spending more. None of this is easy. It's all really challenging. I entirely respect all the work that goes into all of this that we're thinking about, but we have to manage our very big town budget a little bit like I hope we manage our smaller home budgets, and maintain our ability to withstand fluctuations and emergencies and changing needs. So that's me.
If I may, on the last issue, and Elaine, feel free to jump in here, I believe in our discussions with our colleagues, the ESBC will be coming before the Select Board on the 28th. And they will review the capacity study alongside the school committee with the Select Board.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did, by the way, watch that meeting. If folks want to watch it ahead of time too, they did present it to the school committee.
Yes, in fact, they did agree to share the link to the video with us alongside a very brief summary on the status findings, which we'll be sharing with the Select Board.
I was in that meeting yesterday, and later I can give an update. But it's we voted for the new site, so there was good progress, and there was a lot of good work and hard work analysis and comparison, and they're going to present that too. And I think we have a pretty good choice there. And of course, there's a sticker shock, and they'll talk about that too. It's turning out around 176 for all the pretty much all the options, give or take. But the one that we decided,
176, wow.
the one that we decided was more something that could handle the traffic better with the routes and whatnot, and also is going to be a better academic and educational environment for the kids, part of the academic experts and the teachers and school administration, school committee. So we feel very good about that, and it's going to be very environment friendly and looking towards making net zero emissions and all those good things. And I did ask time to time that are we kind of making the optimal financial choices as well. And with all this combination, that has been their goal too. But of course, with inflation and 10 years or more since the marathon, it is a sticker shock for everyone, and we'll have to see what and how we find the money. So they're going to present on 28th. I have my surgery, so I'll probably not be able to attend, but they're very thorough in their analysis and done a good work that they're going to present. And the capacity model too that Norman mentioned. I think they'll, that is not the ESBC's purview, but overall school administration has some information that they can share.
So is that going to be a joint meeting with the SBC2 and school committee and us for a portion of the meeting?
We'll discuss that with our colleagues.
Okay, or they can present, I suppose, but yeah.
Yeah, I believe, yes, the ESBC would be here. I don't know what the plans are for the school committee.
Okay.
But usually in the past, when one has taken the step,
So they have a meeting with the school committee this Thursday, where I think the school committee is going to vote.
Okay, that's the next step, okay.
Right, that's the next step, and 28th, the select board.
Will be the next step after that, okay. All right, so we might want to watch that meeting on Thursday too, if we, to see what happens there. Okay.
Not just us, everybody should.
Everybody should, yeah. Okay, ready for town manager report then?
Yeah, on just one item, the annual town meeting warrant, we did include the listing of the articles that had been received, just to give the board a good sense as to what is up front.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because there were some citizen petitions I hadn't realized, and then they are in that folder there that you've shared with us.
Awesome.
So, yep. Yeah, that's very helpful to kind of be planning.
Okay, and then on the town manager report, very quickly, Main Street Corridor project, cleanup of Marathon Way is underway, removing the
It looks better already.
supplies and materials that were stored to the rear of Center School. PFAS, the vessels have now been manufactured for the filtration system. We have convinced the manufacturer to store them until the site is ready to receive.
That's good.
And then on the MWRA, we continue our negotiations with Southborough. And you will notice for every meeting, I'm listing the items that are up for discussion so that the public, so that these items are in front of the public. Because so often we hear, we did not know about this. So that's why I'm repeating.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah. So that's it with my town manager.
Okay, so, hold on, I feel like so in the budget timeline, let's see, where are we now? Okay, so we've had our budget and capital hearings, we've done that now, right? We're going to have a public forum in March about general bylaws?
No, in fact, we were suggesting February 28th.
February 28th, okay, so that's only 2 weeks away, so we'll start advertising then that this week?
Yeah.
Okay, so the public should be aware that there'll be a general bylaw forum?
Yeah.
Okay, on the 28th, okay, great, and then, let's see, here we are, February, all right, and then we'll continue throughout March to finalize our language for articles, and March 14th, we need to adopt the budget and capital items sent to the Appropriations Committee. So do we have a meeting on the 28th and none other till the 14th? Okay, so we need to, at the 28th, really give that feedback about what we are going to trim from the budget so that we're not over budget, so that we can vote a final budget hopefully by the 14th. Okay, so just everybody, don't forget to read all the info and do your homework. Okay, and maybe Shahidul is going to take a little break when he's having his surgery, but hopefully.
I'll do my summary notes and send it. Oh, I can't, right? I can send it to you, perhaps.
Yeah, or you could even put it in the packet if you want, right? Because then it would be public, right?
Yes, and also, we are available to meet with board members as you prepare.
Okay, if we want to come across questions, yep.
Yeah.
So we have tutoring for our homework too. That's
We'll be there to help.
Public hearing on the budget on the 28th?
Yes.
Well, public hearing on the budget as well as, okay, as well as the general bylaw public hearing. So that might be a long meeting, but we have a 2-week break.
Yes.
A whole one Tuesday night off.
Yeah, hopefully it's a meeting that will be dedicated to the annual town meeting and the
Okay.
budget.
Okay.
Great. We should probably invite the moderator to attend if she wants to, because she'll have the heads up on all those.
Okay.
Okay, so now, did you do the MWRA update?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Any other questions? Anything else on the town manager's report?
No, thank you.
Just follow up on the previous, the parking lot, you mentioned last time there was an issue that was being addressed in terms of, I forgot.
And we're hoping it'll be only a couple weeks or so?
Yeah, the email I received from Dave says, Eversource is saying they fired up the lights. On my way out, I was going to check if the lights are on, so.
Oh, we should all look, okay.
Yeah, the email said the lights are fired up, but I don't know if they've been switched on.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, that's
That's
progress. Okay, so we're ready for liaison reports and board invites?
Yeah, well, I went to the marathon committee meeting this week, and the VA is going to make a few major changes downtown on Marathon Day, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but they're going to have it. And the triangle they're suggesting we don't do bleachers. They're not going to put the bleachers out, so they don't want bleachers. There's going to be standing room in the triangle. So I'll say, okay, I'll have to bring my folding chair, that's for sure. Then again, they might let us use one set of hours. They're going to put all the elite athletes on the common and the wheelchair athletes on the common, and there's going to be much fewer vendors if they do that. I can't see where we're going to have any vendors on the common. Maybe, but I mean, next meeting, they're going to try to show us it all planned out, but,
Big changes.
What are the changes? Can you give examples?
huge, if you ask me. Yeah, I mean, it's like the elite stayed in the church and they warmed up on Claflin Street. I have no idea where they're going to warm up on the common without the press in their faces. And, but that is the idea, I think, this year by the BAA, is that they talked about a picture of all of these people and the whole town full, and they found the empty bleachers that people sat in the bleachers and they would get up and go up and down and go get coffee, and they were too empty. They want to see them full. I don't know why we can't just fill them for them, but, you know, and that was one of the reasons. And they did talk about, you know, the views and getting, I mean, they really want to hype this up for the following year, which is going to be 150, whatever it is. And, but I just don't see and then the press is going to be on the common. I just don't see how everything is going to be on the common.
Okay.
That's just my personal view. And,
Okay, so any other board liaison or invites?
In fact, if I may, just to highlight that point, we've been in conversations with the BAA on the changes. They've invited all town departments, including the Marathon Committee, to provide feedback. Their plan is to come before the Select Board at a future meeting to present the concept, and also to now then begin the dialogue with the public. Some of the points you've mentioned, Mary Jo, yes, have been part of our discussions. My understanding is, yes, there will be bleachers. Yes, we did ask about the footprint that has been put aside for vendors, because we want to see more vendors now. And we were shown a plan that showed exactly where that would happen. And in fact, part of the plan that I saw, I don't know if it has been further refined, would have opportunities to expand the area covered by bleachers.
I mean, I can only see a tent if it's for the elites and the wheelchair runners. A tent like the ones they have at the high school. A little bit smaller, but not much. It's going to take up most of the common. So I don't know where the vendors are going to go.
And Mary Jo, did they rationalize, or they're planning for this new arrangement and then they'll explain how it's going to work?
We were just told that this is how it's going to be.
So maybe when they come, we can get more detail and we'll
Yeah.
see the plan. Yeah. Okay, other liaison invites?
I went to a very happy Eagle Award ceremony, so that was really nice.
Yeah, I saw the picture, that was.
Oh, I didn't see it. What picture? Where was it?
James Arena Dorsa posted a picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was very nice, really, really special. I do have a meeting with the new chair of the Youth Commission and Don from Youth and Family Services this week, so I'm looking forward to that. I happened to catch up with Gary Trundle and touch base with the planning board, all is well on the planning board. Some interesting things that are in front of us, and it would be, it would be nice to be, resourced with people, for those folks on the planning board to have the kind of time to actually lean into some of the things that are really interesting and important, like the MBTA housing initiative and so forth. So that'll be interesting coming forward, for sure. And then I also asked about the Veterans Celebration Committee, but they have been a little bit on hiatus, I think, and won't be meeting again until March, so.
They'll be on for Memorial Day.
Yeah.
All right, Shai, did you have any updates? Or we heard the
ASBC, that's pretty much, yeah.
I didn't realize that the house that wanted to be the 6 apartments was the stone house.
No, it's one on Cedar Street that wanted to be.
On Cedar Street, okay, this is East Main Street. What did they want to do on East Main with the stone house?
Well, they've purchased a second property, so they're going to subdivide with an A&R plan, I think. So they have 2 lots. So they have 2 lots next to each other, and so one has more acres than the other. So I hope I'm explaining this correctly. And then, so they're going to just change, I think, the property lines, so it's still 2 lots, but different. The acreage will be divided up differently.
Okay.
Is that, Mike Shepherd explained it, am I saying?
What I understood from history was that house and West's house, which is the long house at the beginning of the marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Made out of the same stone. And that was the inn. And the man who owned it lived in the big house. I'm talking Revolutionary War times. And owned all the land from the other downtown.
Well, fast.
A whole lot.
They're beautiful homes.
Yeah, they're beautiful homes, and the one, my nephew lived in the stone house, and there's ovens in the wall, there's antique things in that house. I'd love to see it preserved, so,
Yeah, I don't think they're proposing to change the houses at this time, yeah.
No, it's very old, it's very nice.
Okay, for me, I think we got an invite to a cultural council event coming up in March 20th. Okay, and then, let's see, cultural council, I feel like I had one more item. I wanted to recognize that the town website has had a big refresh this last week, so I hope everybody will check it out. It looks very nice and mobile, some nice big changes, so.
Nice.
Take a look, yeah. Let's see, Cultural Council website.
It's right in here, isn't it?
Okay, and then, then future agenda items. I think that's all I had for our liaisons. Future agenda items?
One item I am thinking, we should plan some kind of volunteer appreciation in the summer, and maybe start planning or having an agenda for that to plan.
Okay, so that is on our list of future agenda items. So
But just want to plan ahead if we can.
I know, but these meetings are so long. I'm trying to think, maybe should we fit it in maybe in April or May? Because by May, we're starting to not reappoint yet, but we will be announcing. So
Yeah.
maybe we could get it on a May agenda? So
That'd be good.
That would be nice.
Okay, and then I was going to add, so Mr. Kilduff and Mary Jo brought forward the idea of recognizing Ashland and their, how many years that they had the marathon.
The early idea.
Early April, so we'd like to get that on a future agenda.
Sure.
So we could actually discuss it. And then the one more, I thought I added one last time about Elmwood School reuse, and I didn't see it on the list, so I just wanted to say that.
Oh, that's good, yeah. We actually talked about it in the ASBC last night.
Oh, okay.
But it's not in scope for ASBC per se.
No, but it is in ours, I think.
So we do need to talk about Center School, and ESBC.
In conjunction,
I'm
okay.
sorry, the Elmwood School, right?
Yep.
Okay, and that can wait a little while, but just to keep that on our radar. Okay, I think that is it? Right?
Amy,
Okay.
if I may,
Yes, one more?
in your update, how about the diversity night? at the high
Oh,
school?
yes, I'm sorry. I did attend, and so did Mr. Khumalo, and a lot of people attended the multicultural night at the high school. It's the first time they've had it since COVID. Very well attended. Their performances, a lot of good food, all different varieties. Yeah, so that was really enjoyable. I recommend going.
Nice, yeah. Great.
And student-run, student-led.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Okay, so that was liaison reports. So when I do the actions taken video on HCAM, I have to remember what we all said. So that's why I have to take these notes. Okay, because I don't want to forget, because then I have to rewatch the whole video. And that is,
Yeah,
that is
don't do
tedious.
that. Good job.
Okay, so now we're ready for a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And opposed to abstain?
Thank you.
Okay.